Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at this new folding knife by Ruike Knives. This came out in 2019. This is the P843-B for black. The -W will be coming out soon. That's a tan kind of color on the G10. Hopefully soon anyways. I haven't gotten ETA from RuikeKnives.CA. That's the Canadian vendor, distributor vendor for these knives. You can get them from him too if you're in the United States or Canada. If you live elsewhere in the world, just go to Rike.com, or is it Ruike Knives? I'll put a link down to the manufacturer's website for the rest of the world, and you can buy them that way. This is a knife that's within the budget range of this channel, which is usually the upper limit of around $50 US. This guy is $60.99 Canadian, which is roughly, what is it right there, about $45 US for this knife. We've got Sandvik 12C27 stainless steel for the blade. We've got G10 handle scales, a full-size harpoon blade knife, and I think you might be interested in it. You've got flippers or thumb studs. Haha, I just missed my thumb. Got to cut towards my chum, not my thumb. Those of you who are new to my channel, and maybe you're ESL, English as a second language, because I've got audiences around the world, I have to say this every once in a while on my videos. Chum is an older word in the English language to designate a friend or a pal, somebody that you know. So cut towards somebody else, not yourself, is what I like to say at the end of each of my videos. If you're interested in a new knife by a young company, made in China, good quality, at least everything I've reviewed from them so far is good quality, you're going to want to stick around for this. The video is coming to you right now. One of the first things I do is I do a short little comparison of the sizes, put these two knives in line with one another. I like to line up the pivot points. Blade length, very similar. Handle length, very similar. Grip length, a little bit smaller on this guy than a Rat one. That's the Ontario Rat one. Cutting edge length, though, is longer on this knife, so which is quite common. The Rat one tends to have a much longer handle compared to the blade, and this is much more common to have a ratio where the blade length and the handle length are closer to being the same. You know, this is around 3.5, and this is around 4 and about 4.5 of the whole handle. So let's talk about this knife. The liners are 420 stainless steel, good stainless steel. They actually make blades out of this steel that are better quality than a lot of blades for the really budget knives, the really cheap stuff. Now, I am somewhat partial to harpoon style blades. I just really like it. Actually, from this forward, it almost looks like it's a spear point shape of a blade. The belly radius and the top of the knife radius there is very much the same as one another. And, you know, if there was a line right down the middle instead of, you know, this swedge going up here, you would think that it's a dagger, but no, it's just a one edge blade, and, you know, this false edge up here, and this little section here, that's what makes it a harpoon blade style. I call it harpoon / drop point. Is the kind of blade it is. We've got a saber grind, or a high saber grind, nice big flat area here that you can clamp onto if you've got a guided sharpening system where you need to clamp onto the knife. Lots of room. The thumb studs are far enough back so that when you're slicing through things, they tend not to get caught on those thumb studs. And yet the thumb studs are definitely big enough and in a good shape that makes it very easy to deploy the blade with your thumb, either right or left-handed. It's a little harder with the left hand because it's a little closer to the G10 right there. See that you got a bigger space here to put your thumb into. Than you do on this side. And that's pretty normal. That's because on this side you've got the liner lock. It's not really that much of a left-friendly knife because you don't have a left option on the pocket clip, which I wish they would have, especially on the black G10, because putting a couple holes right here would not show off that much. It wouldn't ruin the looks of the knife. You know, it would just, you know, be a tiny bit not as nice as some right-handers would want, but it wouldn't be a problem at all. I don't think it would stop any right-handers from buying the knife. There's a lot of knives that have the pocket clips for both right and left, and I wish Rike would do that for more of their knives, make them all right and left friendly. The G10 on the handle scales have that kind of, almost looks like it's, if this was stone, those would be chipped off, like flint edges of a piece of wood, a piece of stone, I should say, where the edges are all chipped off. It's, instead of being rounded over, it does add a little bit of softness to the handle as well as a little bit of grip. Very comfortable in hand. A saber grip or a fist grip where you just grab the thing, it's very comfortable that way. No hot spots in my hand. Reverse grip, very comfortable. This little angled section back here is just great to put your thumb into. And even a reverse, like a pull cut like that, it's comfortable. Pinch grip, delicate grip, whatever you want to call that grip, or a regular grip when your thumb comes up here. Well, that's more of a saber grip, and that's a thumb. That's a fist grip, and that's like a saber grip. It's comfortable no matter which way I hold it, and I've used this for cutting a fair bit. The flipper tab comes down far enough to produce a fairly good guard when the knife is open. Lockup is exactly where I want a brand new knife to be. And lockup is totally solid. No blade play, side to side, up and down. Awesome. When you close the knife, alignment is perfect. There's a tiny bit of a noise, and that's from the detent ball sliding on the side of the tang of the blade. Let's see if I can get it. That can easily be remedied with just a little bit of lubrication. I do my testing. I don't change anything. It's from factory, and that's how I do my testing. I don't even open up the knife to see how it is on the inside until after I'm finished recording this part of the review. And then what I'll do right now is show you the video that I'm going to take afterwards, showing you the insides of the knife. Here's the inside of the knife. You can see the steel ball bearings done very well, and the little bit of skeletonizing in here. Here's that little bit of a lock. You can see the D shape in here. Well, just barely maybe. I'll give you a close-up of that. See the D shape right there? That's to stop it from being a free spinning pivot. And one other thing that's done really well that a lot of Rike knives have is, if you look here on this screw, this is the main screw, there's a little bit of a clear washer right there. That helps it to stay snug when it's the pivot pin screwed tight, and it doesn't back off easily. And they don't need to use Loctite then. So that's what it looks like taken apart. You can see that little bit of skeletonizing in there to help keep it a lighter weight. And you probably saw the mechanisms for this little lock. They call it the safety lock. And here's a close-up of it. It's just a little lock that you push it forward, and it puts a little piece of steel in the way so that the liner lock can't be pushed away. And this one's done very well. It's got the perfect tension so that you can't move the liner at all, the release arm. A lot of them, you can move it like 0.5 millimeter before it bumps into that little lock. But this is perfect. It's locked in place, and chances are very low that you're going to accidentally lock it when you don't want to, or unlock it when you don't want to. I don't really find much use for this little special lock here, but for those people who want it, it's actually a very well-designed lock. And, if you like it, it's going to work for you. If you don't like it, you can basically ignore it, and it doesn't, hurt the looks of the knife, really. It's very nondescript and kind of hidden in there. Not a problem. We've got a full back spacer all the way back here, the G10 all the way back, and it's smooth, and the fit and finish on the entire knife is done very well. You've got 3 pins to hold the body of the knife together, and those screws are inset, so they don't catch on your hands. The deep carry pocket clip, you've got a little bit of a separate bend on the pocket clip so that it helps make the pocket clip come away. So even though they use rounded over screws, it still doesn't catch on pants when you go to put the knife in a pocket. So here's the little demo for that. It slides up to get over the denim very well, or whatever kind of pants you have, and it slides right to the bottom. I never had it hang up on those screws, so that's quite nice. And, you know, the knife's got just a couple millimeters sticking out, you know, less than 1/8 of an inch. I like how you've got dark screws and the dark pivot and, you know, the little bit darker thumb studs. What I wish they would do for this knife is do that same treatment on the pocket clip and get a black wash blade, and black wash the liners as well, all the steel. And that would help make this knife a nice discreet carry knife where the light doesn't catch it, it doesn't reflect, because it's a good blade, a nice good size, and you know, functional for any kind of purpose, EDC, and you know, any kind of purpose that you can think of for a knife. Chances are very high that this knife is going to be what you need to do that. You know, unless you want, you know, a sword because you're doing a 1812 reenactment or something. That's when the Canadians won, by the way. So the knife is done very well. I like how the look of it, everything is. Like even the pin here for the stop pin, it's done in that little darker color. So that's why I'm thinking I'd like to have this knife all darkened out. You've got a pivot pin that's not free spinning, so you can only loosen it up on this one side, so that's good. You've got a little bit of jimping here on the thumb area for the liner lock release, so when you go to unlock it, it's very easy to get it and your thumb doesn't slide around. You just disengage the lock very easily, no problem at all. Now you see me every once in a while helping myself open it up. One issue with this specific knife, not the model necessarily, because most of my rake knives are very good with this, is they have a really good detent. But this specific knife, the model's probably great, but this specific knife has got a soft detent. It's softer than I'd like it to be. I wish the detent was a little bit firmer. Now, I do have a video talking about how to adjust a detent to either make it firmer or softer, and I'll probably do that with this knife. I like doing the push button method. You just push down a little bit and it goes flying. You can use the light switch method when you're pulling back. Before I go over all the dimensions, one last thing to talk about. The sharpener's choil here is done very well, exactly what I like to see on a knife. And so this is a beautifully done knife. Now to talk about all the measurements and those kinds of details. 12C27 Sandvik steel, Rockwell of around 58. The weight of this knife, 144 grams, 5.1 ounces from, you know, that's a very good weight for this knife. From the factory, the cutting edge was 85. Whew, that is awesome. Very good cutting edge on this. The cutting edge length is 9.3 centimeters, 3.66 inches. The blade length, so the tip to the closest spot on the G10, is actually a bit less than the cutting edge, 9.02 centimeters, which is 3.55 inches. The blade thickness is 3.05 millimeters, which is 0.1205 inches, so just a hair under 1/8 of an inch thick. Very good. The blade depth, its biggest right here at this harpoon point, and that is 2.89 centimeters, 1.14 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, and I measured it about 1 inch up from the heel of the blade, and that is exactly 0.5 millimeter, which is 0.0195 inches. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to see on a knife like this. The grind angle. On this show side, the grind angle here was actually 15.3 degrees, and on this side, the grind angle is 18.6 degrees. So I think when I go to resharpen this for myself, I'll probably do it at 17.5 degrees on each side. Now for the handle. The handle length is 11.91 centimeters, 4.69 inches. The grip area between my thumbs, 9.8 centimeters, 3.85 inches. The handle thickness is 1.5 centimeters, which is 0.592 of an inch. So it fits very well in hand, very comfortable for mini hand sizes. And the handle depth is 2.84 centimeters, 1.12 inches. When you close the knife, the handle depth here is 3.65 centimeters. That's 1.44 inches. And, oh, I forgot to take the measurement in inches of the total length. It's 20.9 centimeters. The balance point on this knife is right where you want it to be. Perfect. Very comfortable, good user knife that cuts like a charm. This high saber grind across here not only looks great with the grind lines, but it's done very sharp. I've said that 4 times now. That's enough times for that. This is a good user knife. If you're looking for a user knife, I would suggest you look through the entire catalog of Ruike Knives. It's a younger company. They don't have an awful lot of knives. Of folding knives, I think there's less than 20 that they have for you to choose from, but they got so many different styles and all kinds of different features, ball bearings. They've got roller bearings on some of their knives. What are the pros and cons on this specific knife model? Not necessarily this knife in my hand, but the P843 model. What do I like and not like about it? Well, I like that you've got thumb studs and a flipper tab. You get to choose which way you want to do it, and that's a really good thing. The safety lock, that's neither a pro nor con for me. The lanyard hole is in a perfect spot. Very often, knife companies put lanyard holes in stupid places, but this is done very, very well. It's very well balanced, as I showed you. Lockup is perfect. Blade alignment is perfect when it's closed. That's the blade centering. It looks good. It works well in the pocket, going in and out. The deployment is good. And it's very well built. The cons, well, for the same basic price, for very little difference in price, I wish they would have made it like some of their other knives with 14C28N. That's the Sandvik steel, instead of their Sandvik, 12C27, which is, it's, if 12C27 is budget, 14C28N is considered, bumping into the mid-grade. And they've got knives, this is $60.99. They've got other knives for $67 that are thicker steel, the same size, the same length and everything. And those are $67. So I really wish they would have made this with 14C28N. It's better by a big enough margin that I'd easily pay another $5 for this if it had 14C28N. I think most people would. Anybody in the know about steel would rather have 14C28N. That's not to say that 12C27 is a slouch. 12C27 is a good steel. It's just that if you can get better steel for very much the same price, why not, right? So I like that. There's Rike's newer logo in there. It's that circle with the R and the K for Ruike Knives. Some people still email me every once in a while telling me that I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Well, no, because the company has told me how it's pronounced, and so I follow what they say, how it's supposed to be pronounced. It's not Ruike or something. It's pronounced like my first name, Jake. You pretend the UI is A, and you say Rike, and you'll get the pronunciation correct on this knife. What other cons? Well, I wish there was a left pocket clip option. That wouldn't take much to put on there either, and I already talked about that. And on not necessarily on this model, but on this specific knife itself, I wish the detent was a little bit better, and I've talked about that. And I've already talked about the black watch option. I hope they do that. Make it all a dark knife. I think this knife is totally suited for that kind of treatment. And maybe do a sprint run. Rike, you haven't done any sprint runs as far as I know yet. Make it a special edition that some special store gets to have, and I think it'll do very well. For everyone else, if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that subscribe button and hit that bell so you'll be notified of my future videos. Thanks for liking my video, for sharing it with your friends. And remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.